Welcome to part 8 of this series, the Roman Empire and the Holy Land. In this video we're going to be speaking about the importance of Spain. Let's first do a quick recap for what we've been speaking about with this region of the Iberian Peninsula. So we're speaking about Meshech, son of Japheth, inhabiting eastern Spain. We spoke about Tarshish and Elisha, that Portuguese tradition that Elisha and Tarshish coming to the Iberian Peninsula with their uncle Tubal, and that Elisha may have been behind the founding of the city Lisbon in Portugal, and Tarshish with the civilization known as Tartessos. Let me show you a map. Okay, so this map showing this this kingdom of Tartessos, and some scholars have connected this with the biblical land of Tarshish. So that would be one reason why this region would be important, because we know from the Bible that Tarshish would be very, a famous region for trade with the ships of Tarshish. So that's, one reason for, showing the importance of this region, if it's true that this is connected with the land of Tarshish. And there's still a village called Tarsis in this region. We see here Tarsis. So could that be connected with the biblical Tarshish? Now I'd like to just speak about, why are we focusing on Spain? And if you think about, when you go to court, you've got to prove motive or motivation. And that's what we're going to try to do, is to try to prove a motive. Let me try to explain what we're thinking here. So if we go to this page on the Phoenicians, we used this source in the first series, speaking about the different mining operations of the Phoenicians. But I want to focus what it says on Spain. It says, "But all the other mining operations of the Phoenicians were insignificant compared with those of which the theatre was Spain. Spain was the Peru of the ancient world, and surpassed its modern rival in that it produced not only gold and silver, but also copper, iron, tin, and lead." So if you think about all these different metals that are found on this Iberian Peninsula, it could make it a very attractive region to make it a part of your empire. And I want to read this part here about the silver. "Silver was yielded in very large quantities. Spain," says Diodorus Siculus, "has the best and most plentiful silver from mines of all the world." "The Spanish silver," says Pliny, "is the best." So the idea of the quality of the silver in the Iberian Peninsula, but also that it might have been yielding the greatest quantities of silver in the ancient world. So that's something to think about, because what we're saying is just trying to put forward a motivation or a motive. Why would this region be so important for kingdoms and empires to have this Iberian Peninsula as a part of your empire, and taking control of those metals and those valuable metals like gold and silver, and also the other ones also mentioned, just to show that it could be a strong motivation to control this Iberian Peninsula. Now let's think about what we were speaking about with these different descendants of Noah, because I think we must try to reflect on what we're actually saying here with Tubal, Meshech, and Tarshish. Because remember, we did say that we have these kingdoms on the historical record that seem to match these names. So we had a kingdom of Tubal, and notice it says here Tubal first appeared after the collapse of the Hittite Empire. So that suggests that the Hittites were ruling over Tubal. And then we also spoke about in the Bible how it speaks about Tubal and Meshech, that they could be living in close proximity. And we saw here it says, during the reign of Sargon II, Tubal entered in an alliance with the Mushki. So maybe Tubal and Meshech. So we have Mushki on the historical record, and scholars connect that with Meshech. And we also spoke about Cilicia. Let's see what it says about Cilicia with the Hittites, because I've got a part highlighted here. It just speaks about here that these Hittite kings enjoyed the freedom of movement along the Pyramus River, proving they exerted strong control over Cilicia in their battles with Syria. So the Hittites also showing control over Cilicia. So let's just go to our map to see what we're saying. So I'm going to change the map to show the actual kingdoms, because that's what we're asking. Are these kingdoms actually here in the west? So the kingdom of Tubal, the Mushki for Meshech, and Cilicia for Tarshish, because remember Josephus identified Cilicia as Tarshish of old. So we just read that the Hittites, they it sounds like they were ruling over Tubal, and they also had freedom of movement throughout Cilicia, just to show that what we could be saying is that the Hittites were dominant over this Iberian Peninsula, and they may have been the ones in charge and in control of these these valuable resources on this Iberian Peninsula, and they obviously want to keep it and defend it. Now another thing I want to speak about is Cappadocia, because remember Josephus identified Meshech with the Cappadocians, so we could be also saying were there Cappadocians in this region, but the bigger question is we're asking was the kingdom of Cappadocia in this region, and that's also important for the Hittites. Let's read this part where it speaks about the Hittites. Just go down. So it says, Cappadocia was known as Hatti in the late Bronze Age, and was the homeland of the Hittite power centered at Hattusa. So it's saying that Cappadocia is the homeland of the Hittite power. So if it's accurate with what we have here, and I've got these question marks because we're just putting forward a theory, but then it would mean that Cappadocia would be the home and the power of the Hittites. So their power and their base is in eastern Spain, but they're ruling over Tubal and also got free reign over Cilicia, so that to show they've got access towards the land of Syria, which we're going to speak about maybe in the next video. And I noticed something interesting here on this page in Cappadocia. If you go back up here, it says Herodotus wrote that the name of the Cappadocians was applied to them by the Persians, while they were termed by the Greeks, white Syrians. So why are the Cappadocians called white Syrians? Let's speak about that, because that's quite interesting. So what I noticed was, if we go to Aram, a page on Aram, one of the sons of Aram is called Meshech. Now when we were doing I think it was part 1, we were trying to find that kingdom of Mesha, or the Messenians. So you can see his name's either Mash, or Mesha, or Meshech. So I don't know for sure, but I'm just saying, could it be that there's a union between Aram and Meshech, and that he's named one of his sons Meshech, because of that union? And then that would be interesting, because then what we could have here when it describes the Cappadocians as white Syrians, it could also say white Arameans. But you see how they also say that they were most probably the descendants of the Hittites, because they've just spoken about how the Hittites were supreme in this region. But I just wonder if it's connected to Aram, because in the Bible the word Syria, that the Greeks use the word Syria to describe the land of Aram and the Arameans. So is it really saying the white Arameans, maybe showing this connection between Meshech and Aram? So then it would be Syrio-Cappadocians. And then I noticed on this map we do have a region here called Soria. So I was just wondering if that's a variation of Syria. Then you could have Syrio-Cappadocians, if you think about our map. So I just wanted to do this video to speak about the importance of Spain and why we're focusing on it. And now we have that motive with the resources, how it's described as the Peru of the ancient world. So it would be very attractive for empires and kingdoms to rule this area. And it seems the further back in time we go, that the Hittites were the ones that had control of this Iberian Peninsula. But is there going to be great competition from the other superpowers of the time to control this Iberian Peninsula? And that's what we're going to be speaking about as we go forward. So what we're going to do now is we're going to try to go back in time and think about some of these ancient empires, and then we'll try and move back towards the future and speak about the Romans. So I hope you are finding this series interesting so far, and we'll see you in the next video.